All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian Fulford, 80 Drew, and joining us, the head ball coach of Virginia Union University Panthers, fresh off a big win on Saturday against the number 2 ranked team in Division II football, Dr. Alvin Parker. Dr. Parker, how you doing, sir? Thanks for joining us this evening.
I'm doing well, man. I'm glad you guys invited me on.
Hey, when
Hey,
I saw what you had did yesterday, by the time I got back to my car, I'm like, let me text Dr. Parker right now and see if we can get him on. Because when I was going through the scores and they won it. Oh, good. You want certain teams to win, especially when you get into this in region stuff and Virginia Union big win. Oh yeah, top ranked team. Yeah, we got to talk about this one.
Doc, I
Absolutely.
know we're still in the 24-hour period, so we can still talk about it. We can still enjoy it. I know sometime this evening, 24 hours will pass, and then we gotta, well, as you coaches like to say, hey, we own the Livingstone. What are some of your emotions right now from last night and this morning?
Yeah, I tell the guys all the time, you can never really be, too high when it's going good. You can never be too low when it's going bad. But just to have a victory of this magnitude, I kind of threw that out the window yesterday. I think it was the first time I tell the guys all the time. I say, do not pour no Gatorade on me. Don't pour no water on me. Don't do none of that after no game. I don't care what we do. And yesterday, them guys poured the Gatorade on me just because they was excited and they know that all the type of work that went into to that trip and the practice, the preparation, everything that had been done. And I think, they deserved it. We got on the bus and went 10 hours and, we packed up and just moved the entire program 10 hours. And that's tough, especially on this level, but in order to get the kind of respect that you think you need and that you think you deserve, you got to play the teams of this magnitude. And we've done that since I've been here. This is our first chance to take one of them down, though.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, looking back on the last few years, your program has not been shy away from playing. I mean, obviously, you've had some rivalry games against like Hampton University, in which you've been successful in a couple of those. But it gets into D2, you're not shy about playing the big boys. Last year, you had Valdosta at home. You've had Carson Newman before early in the season,
Lenore
Lenore
Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah.
So, uh, talk a little bit about the scheduling. I mean, this year in particular, where the CIAA moved to an 8-team conference schedule, so you only get two. You only get two this year. Talk a little bit about the scheduling and what goes into the preparation so that it gives you this kind of opportunity if you guys do what you're supposed to do during the regular conference season.
Well, my philosophy on scheduling has always been to schedule tough. From the coaches I've worked with in the past, Coach Bailey, Coach Tiller, some of those guys, we scheduled tough all the time, and they prepared us when it was time to kind of get the league play. But just like you said, it used to be you could schedule 3, and then, you had to play that mandatory 7, but now, fall into what I think is a good thing now, with us playing 8 conference games. You get to schedule those 2 outside opponents. And we were originally supposed to play Hampton again. So our conference scheduling was going to be Hampton and Valdosta, but, a late breach in that contract with some things that they wanted to do that we didn't necessarily agree to. We got out of that game. And now we were in search for a game, so, the good thing is, a lot of people don't want to play you. That's a good thing, but when somebody do want to play you, you got to kind of take on those guys that are top people in the region. But we ended up scheduling Virginia Lynchburg for that first game because it was just a 1-game deal, that we was able to do just for the 22 season. So we're going to be looking for another game week 1 next year. Hopefully we can get something in region, but that's kind of how the scheduling fell this year, but this was a return trip to Valdosta. So they came here last year. We were returning that trip this year.
Go ahead, Drew.
You talk about scheduling some games in region. One thing Brian and I have always talked about is more CIAA, SIAC matchups. Is that a possibility? And if you could wave a magic wand and say, I want to play that team out the SIAC, who would be your top two or three on that list of teams that you would love to play if everything could work out?
If everything can work out, I guess of course, like I said, on this level, you got to think budget first. So the ones that'll
Right.
be a little closer. So those the Benedicts, the Savannah States, those people like that we can kind of jump on 95 and be right there and get to, those type of teams. Somebody that's a little bit more closer, so we won't necessarily have to take this 10-hour ride like we just did, so somebody a little bit closer. It doesn't matter who, but I like that. I like the SIAC and the CIAA type of matchups. I think it brings a different type of feel to people, to fans, and everybody that's involved. And it's kind of a win-win for everybody, because the win will stay between one of those conferences. So when
Yeah.
somebody wins, kind of everybody wins. So I definitely would think that would be something good.
One other thing that I've noticed is Super Region 2. A lot of you guys, there are a lot of cross conference games in those first 2 to 3 weeks between CIAA, SAC, SIAC, and the Gulf South. Can you kind of talk about how that all came together over the last couple of years?
Like I said, we voted from a coaching association standpoint to increase it to 8 games. We did that about 2 years ago, and this is the first year that's kind of coming into fruition. But those first ones, people kind of schedule, the way that they, some stuff. There might be some old rivalries or some close games and proximities and things like that. So it's kind of everybody's philosophy on that is a little different. My philosophy is kind of making sure that we play somebody within the region that's pretty strong, that's going to allow us to get to some of the goals that we have for the season. And our goals are generally playoffs. We want to make sure we do that. So, like you said, in the past, we've played, Lenore Ryan. We've played when they were a top 10 team. They still pretty daggone good. We signed a contract without Austin when they were number 1 in the country. We did the same thing with Carson Newman when they were a top 25 team. So again, we shy away from no one, but again, I think you have to play those type of teams. So when it comes down to November months, and you're looking for your name to be called, and and people go off strength of schedule, we just don't want to let that be an excuse as to why our name don't get called. So we're gonna always schedule like that and play those type of games. But like you all said earlier, I would like to do something different and maybe look at playing, SIAC team, somebody like that. We get a Division 2 against a Division 2 HBCU type thing going on.
All right. All right. Now, I want to get on the field for a moment before I turn it back over to Brian. I need you to talk about the 283 by your running back, Jada Byers, against one of the top defenses in Division 2 football. Break it down for me, coach.
He was one of the few that rushed for over 100 yards against those guys last year. He was a true freshman last year, and he did that. So he doesn't shy away from competition. He wants to always play against the best. And he's a special type of athlete. So you know that's why I really didn't hear a lot coming out of our camp about his performance, because we know what he's capable of. He was the CIAA Rookie of the Year last year. And I think he's making a mark to show he's the best player in the CIAA this year on offense. And the performance that he put up yesterday, he put the team on his back. He had some big runs. He had some big catches. He did a lot for us yesterday. I think he totaled about maybe 4 touchdowns yesterday, 3 or 4, somewhere in that range. 3 on the ground and 1 through the air. So
That's
like I said, he
correct.
put us on his back. He put us on his back yesterday, and he asked for that type of those type of duties, and he wants them. So as a coach, I have no problem with giving them to him because he's very capable.
Yeah. Recapping those stats on the ground: 29 attempts, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a long of 52. That's a 9.8 average for those math nerds out there. And catching the ball out the backfield, he had 3 receptions for 23 yards, 1 touchdown, and a long of 12. Go ahead, Brian.
So coach, look, we when we saw that you put up 77 in week 1, I mean, definitely it caught our attention. We were like, okay, Virginia Union, you putting 77 on somebody. 77. You know, that's you do the math, that's 11 touchdowns. I don't know if you had 11, but you do the
Yeah.
math, right?
Yeah.
That's what it averages out to, right? So then you go into this week and you put up 45 on Valdosta. But talk a little bit about the transition from the first quarter into the second, because first quarter you're down 6-0 at the end of the first, but you held them to 2 field goals from long distance, I think, 36 and 42. And then all of a sudden in the third quarter, second quarter, excuse me, that's when Jada gets loose. You get a 10-play drive going. Tell me about the first quarter, and was it a matter of feeling the team out, feeling Valdosta
Uh,
State out?
I think you might be right about that, because generally we start pretty strong. Even in last season, in most of those games, we started pretty strong on offense. So just to kind of come out and play like we did in the first quarter was still a kind of a little, eye popping to me a little bit, because we use, like I said, we start strong. But again, they probably were just filling them out and trying to find out exactly, what their strengths and what their weaknesses was based off of what the scouting report kind of said. And that led to us kind of erupting in the second quarter. We scored 24 points in the second quarter, and we probably should have had 31. We should have been up, I thought, by maybe 11 points at halftime. We had an interception as the half closed and ran it back, and we scored. And I see a yellow cloth on the field. So I'm not going to go into how the play went because we looked at it a million times trying to figure it out. But I thought we should have been up by 11 at halftime. But that got called back, and we end up going into halftime up 24-20. So those guys erupted in the second quarter and put everything together. We mounted drives. We didn't punt any. Our freshman kicker came in after we got a turnover and nailed a pretty long field goal for us. So that was something that was good, and I was happy to see. And like I said, they put it all together in the second quarter, so we went up in the halftime.
Right. Go up at the halftime, you're up 4. They come out and answer in the third. And then that's really where Jada begins to break loose. He ends up with a 22-yard touchdown run, then a pair of 50-yarders, gets a 52-yarder, a 50. You scored 3 straight times, and before you know it, you're up 45-27. And at that point in the ball game, where you're up 45-27, but there's still a lot of time left. It's like almost
Right.
13, 12 minutes left. What's the thought process? Because you're more of a running team at this point. They've been passing the ball pretty much all game by the statistical numbers. What's the mindset in that final 12 minutes, or what are you telling your players there?
I mean, I guess the message was, play to win, don't play not to lose. It was one of those type of things, that you wanted to make sure that everybody kept doing what we doing to kind of get us to this point. So we kept trying to run the ball and we kept doing the things that we felt like had given us some success. But they're not a championship team for no reason. They was able to put some things together, and they're a great ball club. They drove down the field on us. We had some self-inflicted stuff along the way, but it just seemed like that clock went so slow. As it kind of ticked on down. And we found ourselves in a position, I think, where we were up by maybe 11 after that point. So we knew they still needed 2 scores. So the offense came back on the field, mounted a small drive, and took a little bit of time off the clock. And then the defense went back out there, and they stopped them on 4th down, I believe, a couple times within that 4th quarter. But we did surrender one more touchdown to those guys, and we didn't let them get a 2-point conversion, so we were still up by 5 at that point. And then when they tried to kick an onside kick, we recovered it, and we were able to kind of run the clock out. And then at that point, we it was time to celebrate.
Get into that beautiful victory formation and take those final knees, right?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Drew.
All right. Try to get back to the lab tomorrow, Coach. And the one thing that I kind of sticks out with me when I look at the stat sheet, you guys were 4 of 12 on 3rd and 4th downs. Well, I say they were 8 of 16 on 3rd downs, but you held them to 0 for 5 on on fourth down. So when you get back to the lab tomorrow, what do you do to act short up on your side of the ball offensively, but then on the defensive side to 50% on third down is pretty doggone good for a team. So to make that number get down to about 25% where you really want to see it at, what do we need to do when we get back in the lab?
The first thing, I think we were not happy with were the amount of penalties that we had. Again, officiating go a little different ways when you play in different conferences. Things that might be called or not called on a regular basis that you might see, it's just done a different way. So that was something that we kind of had to adjust to a little bit. So I was still not happy with the amount of penalties that we had. In
You had
terms of
11
just
for
making sure,
120.
yes, so which is definitely not the brand of ball we play, and it's not indicative of any team that I coach. So again, just had to adjust to the officiating and some of those calls. Still trying to get a little bit of clarification on, just so when or if we get a chance to play with another Gulf South officiating crew, we'll be a little bit more abreast of how things kind of work a little bit better. So, but in terms of the third downs, the turnovers and things like that, you want to make sure you kind of eliminate those, Drew, because those are the things that win people ball games. I think the week before we were in the 80 percentile in terms of performing on third downs, and the defense was real low. I don't think they gave up one third down conversion the week before. So just kind of come out and have a team like this, but that amount of first downs and third down conversions they ran a lot more plays than we did, because they threw the ball a lot. We kind of grounded it out a little bit, and we had a bunch of we had two drives that were one play drives. So, we didn't necessarily have to have the ball as long as they did, so that was a stat you can kind of throw out the window too. And we really didn't have as many third down conversions and things like that because we got a lot of first downs on first down or second down. So we didn't get the third down a whole lot. So that was something that was pretty big too. So, but it's one of those things that you got to make sure you get off the field. You don't want to look up and like I said, you can probably see the play count. They play, our defense played a lot more plays yesterday than I probably would have liked them to.
Yeah, just taking a look at it. Let's see. They had 34, 57. Yeah, that was 80, 91 plays. Yeah, they ran 91
Wow.
plays against you guys compared
Mhm.
to 56. That's
Correct.
a big discrepancy. But if you're being
Mhm.
efficient on your 56, doesn't matter as much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, one thing, getting ready to go into CIAA play, coach. Uh, the last 3 years you've been at VUU, you've lost 5 games, 3 of them to Bowie State. I'm not gonna
Correct.
ask you, is this your year? Because I know what your response is going to be if I say, is this your year? But what 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 about the CIAA North in general? The difference in leadership at Bowie State. What's going to be the difference this year versus years past?
Hopefully this year we can come out on the winning end. But in terms of like any changes or anything that have probably been made there, it's tough to focus on those. You got to focus on those banners and those rings that they got hanging up there. So that's the thing we kind of focus on almost, more than anything else because it doesn't matter who's coaching those guys. We feel like they're going to be a good competitive team. So, we just know we got to have our A game ready when we get to October, and when those guys, we go up there to Maryland to face those guys. So, it's a lot of ball to be played before then. I think we got to handle business along the way so we can get to that game. And it means as much as everybody kind of wanted to mean. But, I guess like anything else, we kind of pack this one in and we start to focus on Livingstone. And that's kind of became our focus today. I told the guys you get a few hours to enjoy that one. By the time we took that bus ride on back, those few hours was up. It was kind of time to start focusing on trying to focus on Livingstone. So, you know, but I'll be lying to you if I said, I don't pay attention to that date down there in October, and we know how important it is.
Go ahead, Brian.
Drew, look, I know Dr. Parker's not going to say this, but the schedule makers didn't do them any favors this year. Probably by predictive finishing, the top three or three of the top opponents are all on the road. So I mean, it's sort of a good thing that you went under Valdosta State and got that road win, because now it's one of those things you can probably tell your guys, hey, look, if we can go to Valdosta State, number 2 team in the country, and get a win, we can go to Fayetteville, North Carolina, Bowie, Maryland, and not St. Petersburg, but Petersburg, and go get a win. I mean, it just is that further validation. How I was going to ask you, have you got any interesting text or phone calls in the last 12 hours or so?
Besides for me.
Anything you can share? Yeah, besides
I
Drew blowing
mean,
your phone up, anything you can
I know.
share?
I came off, and by the time I got to the bus yesterday, I had 68 text messages. So a lot of people had watched and paid attention, and I got to return the calls. I got to start with mom first. She watched it.
Nice.
She said I thought that 12 minutes long. She said that was the longest 4 minutes of her life. At the end of the game. So she watched it, and she's used to being at the games and things like that, so it makes a difference. And of course, my other assistant coach, my wife, she gave her 2 bits too. But other than that, all the other things were congratulatory, and everybody kind of wished well, and they were proud of what we had accomplished, and they thought we played a great game. So like I said, from looking at it from the way we did, we thought we did too, and we did it against a great ball club. So I was real happy for the guys, and happy for the coaches, and happy for everybody that was involved.
Definitely, definitely. Well, this upcoming Saturday, 6 p.m. right there at Hovey Field, the Panthers are back home against Livingstone College. Livingstone off a win, so I know that gives you an opportunity to kind of refocus your team, and that's a team they got a good win, got a shutout win, I believe. So there's a team that's coming in, feeling pretty good about themselves. So it gives you a chance to kind of bring your focus back for this. Any special acknowledgments of any players, coaches? Or I want to give you the last word, Coach. Anybody you want to shout out or say hey to or thank you to?
No, just the guys, that for playing hard like they did yesterday, and just the administration for, putting everything together for us, and allowing us to be able to go and compete like that. That wasn't a cheap trip, So allowing them to let us do that and put everything together first class like they did, all guys felt it. And again, they played like they felt it. So just hats off to everybody that's part of the Virginia Union organization, and and because it's everybody's win, it's just not the football team's win, it's everybody's win. So we feel good about that, and I just want to thank everybody for that.
And where can people support? If they, I mean, I feel like this is a kind of win where like we need to pass the plate. Everyone needs to somehow find a way to contribute and be a Panther for the night.
Hey,
Let
Virginia
people know
Union
how
is
they
a
can.
private school.
Let
Absolutely.
people
Look,
know how they can support the program. What's the best way to reach out and do that?
oh man, we got a few things. If you go to our website, and it'll say like give now, and it'll have a drop down box. So in that drop down box, you can pick one of the athletic portions. You can pick any of the portions. As long as it goes to Virginia Union, I'm happy about it. But if you want to send it directly to athletics, it's an athletic drop down on there. And we get on the athletics, to be some football drop down, so you can send it directly to football, and they'll get it. They'll notify me that some things have been sent and donated to our account, and we're using it to continue to move the program.
There we go. There we go. Want to encourage everybody out there. Whatever you do, donate 45. How about everybody donate 45? $45.40. There you go. Everybody must make a donation. $45.40. Find a way to make a donation. I'm sure that if you can't afford it all at once, the school will take 2 payments. I'm sure. But whatever you got to do, find a way to contribute, help out Virginia Union. We want to help all our HBCUs, and let's go support each other. And Coach, you're on the radar. We're gonna be watching the rest of the year. The CIAA is gonna be fun to watch down the stretch. So thank you for your time this evening.
I appreciate you guys for having me. Okay.
Appreciate you,
All
Dr.
right, all
Parker.
right. Be safe and good luck the rest of the way. All right. Once again, Dr. Alvin Parker, Virginia Union University. Let's take a break and come back. We'll talk about their win and the rest of the games in the CIAA on the other side. You're watching the BCSN Sports Wrap. We'll be back in just a moment.